Thank you so much for attending my presentation about competitive Pokemon's niche legendaries. Today we're going to talk about some of VGC's less seen restricted Pokemon or box legendaries, what they do, and why they struggle. First up is Rayquaza. This demon has some of the most terrifying stats in the game, but they don't actually work that well. The big ones are attack and special attack at 150. This gets even more insane with its attacking options, getting access to the flying move Dragon Ascent and extreme speed. E-speed is the most important, having 80 base power and priority. Plus, it can be given stab using Terra. This makes up the backbone of its best set, seeing use alongside the defense-lowering Chien-Pao. However, this is really rare. Even though its offensive stats are worse, Dragonite is generally better with this role. It's all because of Intimidate. Dragonite has the ability Inner Focus, which dodges the attack drop. This allows it to run Choice Band, adding yet another multiplier. In the meantime, Rayquaza has to use Clear Amulet, which stops its stats from being lowered. Swords Dance is oftentimes the last move on these builds, trying to get as much damage as possible down, but with its meager defenses and non-spread attacks, this is tough. Raid can be used, but since you only have one restricted per team, justifying it is difficult. Eternatus is confusing. It just has a bunch of good traits, but in a fast-paced, min-max, damage-heavy metagame like this, that's nothing special. However, despite everything, it manages to have a real role, albeit a small one. This thing's defensive typing is great. Dragon is always going to resist some strong pokes, and Poison makes it decent into Fairy and Fighting too. Stat-wise, it has some solid bulk with a monster 140 HP and 95s elsewhere, but don't underestimate its damage. 145 special attack is no joke, but the litany of coverage Eternatus gets helps big time. Sludge Bomb and Dynamax Cannon hit hard with stab, Flamethrower is perfect for Amoonguss especially, and Meteor Beam gives a special attack boost before hitting. This lets it function in a blanket offensive role, hitting many common mons hard. However, once again, this metagame doesn't reward honesty. When you don't have insane spread moves or an ability that breaks the game, things get difficult. This makes Eternatus hard to pilot, and for what? It just doesn't have the insane highs that other restricteds have. But with versatility like this, I wouldn't be surprised to see it make a run at Worlds. Kyurem White's game plan is simple, click the button. With a fucking crazy 170 special attack, this thing's blizzards hit stupid hard. Having 110 base power, the solid ice typing, and spray capabilities, it can do nearly anything. The only issue is that it's inaccurate, but put it in snow and this gets scary. Thus, a choice spec set looks pretty nice, maybe even a Life Orb or a Stealth Vest, but this thing isn't really used. The big problem is Calyrex Ice, which is almost completely better. Comparable attacking stat, better bulk, setup with Source Dance, and Trick Room is huge, but the icing on the cake is Glacial Lance. This spread ice move not only has 120 base power, but also has perfect accuracy even outside of weather. They fucking power crept the Blizzard. Kyurem White is thus relegated to second fiddle. It has the traits to work well, but in a format where the horse is running around, this thing won't see widespread success. Quick addition, Kyurem White also really struggles with speed control because none of the Pokemon that can set snow on switch in also learn Tailwind or Trick Room. The best you have is like Icy Wind from Ninetales, which isn't horrible, but it really struggles to outspeed much of anything and is thus very awkward to play. Lugia is more fringed than the others on this list, but it's my favorite restricted, so I'm going to talk about it anyways. Lugia is actually really min-max, but it's not very conductive to VGC success. 106, 130, 154 bulk is fucked up, especially with multiscale, which halves all damage when at full health. This shithead just doesn't die, which is what I would say. Unfortunately, the flying psychic typing is horrific. Being weak to both Calyrex forms, Incineroar, and Miraidon is a recipe for disaster, especially as a defensively oriented poke. Thus, Lugia is the biggest Terra hog of all time. Don't get me wrong though, if it didn't have Terra, this thing would be horrible. It generally tries to take advantage of this bulk with Calm Mind, boosting its Air Blast to hit damn hard against Rillaboom, Amoonguss, and Urshifu. The bird gets the most usage on insane screen setup teams that use damage mitigation teammates. One of its best performances by Ian Genis saw it alongside Sableye, Comfey, and Rillaboom, all of which keep it alive. Lugia will never be that good, but with Gen 9's Terra mechanic, it is getting some more usage. Not great, but it's nice to see it do something. In conclusion, while most players will opt for stronger, more consistent restricted Pokemon, there are some out-of-the-box ideas. Will they win Worlds? Almost assuredly not, but who cares? They're still awesome. Thank you so much for watching.